It's Tuesday, the 23rd day of July 2013. This is KTN Prime. Good evening and welcome. My name is James Smart.
Many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime. I'm Linda Oguto. Let's take a look at the top stories tonight.
The complaint is hereby dismissed with no order as to cost.
Not again. IBC rejects bid to stop Mutula Jr.
There have been internal arrangements in our schools to make sure that the syllabi is covered.
One more week, government extends school term dates.
From comedy to tragedy, man in B saga drops dead.
And murder most foul body parts horror in Eldoret.
Good evening. We start our bulletin tonight with a controversy surrounding the Makueni by-election, and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has dismissed a petition that sought to have Mutula Kilonzo Jr. barred from vying in the Friday mini poll. According to the IEBC, only the courts can stop the election, and as KTN's Aaron Ochieng reports, despite the intrigues that have continued to mar the by-election, it will go on as scheduled on Friday, unless a court order states otherwise.
Mutula Kilonzo Jr. will, after all, be a contestant in the Makueni Senate seat by-election. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has rejected a petition challenging Mutula Jr.'s nomination to contest that was filed by former Member of Parliament Agnes Ndetei. Speaking to KTN, IEBC's Chief Executive James Oswago said the Commission was focused on Friday's by-election and added that the Commission has no jurisdiction to handle the petition after a ruling by the High Court.
To hear that particular petition would be like to preside over the decision of a Court of Appeal. So the Commission has made a decision that doing so, we don't have the jurisdiction to do that.
IEBC has a 90-day period from the day the Senate Speaker declared the seat vacant to conduct the mini poll, a period that ends Friday. Mr. Oswago confirmed that the names of 5 candidates battling it out for the Makueni senatorial race will be on the ballot, but added that Mutula Jr.'s name might not appear like the rest due to the short time that the Commission had to include him in the ballot paper. Court Coalition had earlier expressed fear that the ballot papers that have been released by IEBC do not carry the name of Mutula, and moved to court to seek an interpretation of what that means. The Wiper Party has filed a case at the court seeking the inclusion of Mutula Jr. in the ballot paper.
The Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, which is fielding Mutula Kilonzo Jr., is saying that the ballot papers have been printed minus their candidate. Is that true?
There is no way they will be able to print with Junior's picture on the ballot. But we have made alternatives which are good as the paper itself.
Tuesday, IEBC's Nomination Dispute Resolution Committee said it would hear the complaint raised against the Wiper candidate, but Chairman of the tribunal, Thomas Letangule, dismissed the petition, citing jurisdiction.
We merely acted in compliance with the High Court order in that petition. The upshot of my ruling is that the complaint is hereby dismissed with no order as to cost.
On the ground, Mutula Jr. was not deterred by the developments in Nairobi as he continued with his last push campaigns, traversing different parts of Makueni. He campaigned in Kibwezi, the home turf of his rival Philip Kaloki, in the company of other CORD leaders.
Kura za Makueni haziitishwi kotini. Watoke kotini, wakuje hapa, wajitambulishe.
Hata kule Taita wamesema kama hamwezi kazi tuje kuifanya Ijumaa.
Jubilee's Philip Kaloki, Harun Mwau of PIK, Jen Kitundu of Labour Party of Kenya, independent candidate Abanas Muthoka, and Kilonzo Jr. will vie in the Friday's by-election, the first to be conducted by IEBC after the last general election. Aaron Ochieng, KTN.
All right, education matters now. The government has now extended the school calendar by 2 weeks to enable schools recover time lost during the teacher strike. The second term will now close on the 16th of August, a week later than earlier scheduled, while the third term will also be extended by a week. Education Secretary Jacob Kaimeni, who met education stakeholders before announcing the new dates, says schools will have to make arrangements to fully cover the syllabus. And as KTN's Rita Tina reports, the new dates do not affect national examinations.
Just 2 days after public primary schools reopened following a 24-day teacher strike that paralyzed learning, stakeholders in the education sector gathered in Nairobi to assess the impact of the strike and to find ways of mitigating its effects on teaching and learning.
Today, even besides the people you see here, we had all the county directors of education, 47 of them, in our meeting.
To help pupils make up for lost time, the government has now extended the school calendar by 1 week for the second term and by another week for the third term. Public primary schools, which were scheduled to end the second term on the 9th of August, will now close on the 16th of August. Schools will break for the Christmas holiday on the 22nd of November instead of the 15th of November.
We have also agreed that there will be internal arrangements in our schools to make sure that the syllabi is covered.
The new term dates will not affect the start of the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations.
The exams will not be affected in any way. They will be held on schedule.
The new term dates do not affect private schools, which remained in session during the strike. Last year, the government extended the third term by 3 weeks and postponed the start of national exams following a 3-week teacher strike. But new term dates, which would have seen schools open for the first term on the 4th of February 2013, were rejected by stakeholders in the education sector, who argued that the new dates would only serve to prolong the trickle effects of the 2012 teacher strike. With a nod from stakeholders, this time round, the new term dates are unlikely to face opposition, and the challenge is now on teachers, pupils, and even parents to ensure the time lost is recovered. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Elsewhere, a funeral service for 20 students who died in a horrific road accident 2 weeks ago was today held in Kisii County's Gusii Stadium amid intense political sideshows. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was scheduled to attend the function, cancelled his attendance at the last minute as various national leaders trooped to the venue. KTN's Western Region reporter Fred Omulo was present and brings us the story.
The president was expected to grace the funeral service, but at the last minute he called off his trip to the land of endless hills and valleys, leaving room for other leaders to fill the vacuum. Politics soon took center stage as former Prime Minister Raila Odinga stepped up to do what he does best. And while some leaders had it rough, the Court Supremo received a rousing welcome. Also in attendance was Teachers Union boss Wilson Sosion, who took the opportunity to hammer away at authorities who instituted a contempt of court case that he lost yesterday.
Ile kesi ambayo tulikuwa nayo jana tutakata rufani katika koti kuu. Hatutatingizika, hatutatishwa, hatupanduki. Tuko ngangari kama chama cha walimu katika jamhuri. Asanteni sana.
The accident occurred when a bus that was ferrying students rolled several times at Nyambunde on the Itumbe Igare Road in Bobasi constituency. The departed students will be interred in various villages across the county starting tomorrow. Politics aside, Young Kenyans are now headed to an early grave due to the country's total and complete refusal to obey traffic laws. One only wonders how long this attitude will prevail. If this does not move the relevant authorities to act, nothing will. From Gusii Stadium in Kisii County, I am Fredo Mulo.
Well, and to a story that we've been covering for you from Sunday, Eric Mbaru, the man who we interviewed when a bizarre swarm of bees landed in Mishomoroni in Mombasa on Sunday, has died under mysterious circumstances. Eric was at a local restaurant where bees had gathered, causing commotion in the neighborhood. He later got sick and died this evening. It is still not clear what killed him, but his death has left tongues wagging at the coast. Catherine Omantho has more.
On Sunday, Eric Mbaru, a resident of Mombasa's Kaloleni area, went to Mishomoroni to a local restaurant. The restaurant was swarmed with bees, but these were no ordinary bees. They would not be moved.
Tukasema si kama ni nyuki kikweli hawa. Wa kawaida wataondoka. Mimi nikaenda nikachukua bike hapa, nikalipa pesa ya kwenda na kurejea hapa, nikaenda kanunua ndimu kule kwa shamba lingine kwa mlanguzi. Ili kwamba waje wale nyuki kama kuondoka waondoke, kila mmoja ajue kwamba wale nyuki na kikweli.
Mimi mwenyewe kwa mawazo yangu sahihi naona si kawaida. Wamefanya kutoka, wamefanya kuletwa, yani tuseme kwa ufupi.
Following his encounter with the bees, the following day he got sick.
Mimi ndio nibidi niondoke pale kwa sababu nilikuwa naanza kusikia ile kitu baada ya wale nyuki. Nikaja zangu nyumbani, nakwambia kutoka jana mpaka sasa hivi sijalala mimi. Alafu kama pia na imani juu mke naumia.
Family tried to take Eric to traditional doctors thinking that his illness was some sort of curse, and when that failed, he was taken to medical doctors at Kaloleni Giriama. All the while, his private parts began to swell. Frantic efforts continued to get him to recover, but he passed away today while undergoing treatment. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Lots of speculation on that story. That is where we derive our big question tonight. We're asking you, do you believe the Mombasa Bee saga is an act of witchcraft?
Indeed. Send us a yes or no comments to number 8040, and we will sample your views during this live newscast and give you the poll results at the end of this live bulletin. You can also tweet us at KTN Kenya or at Lindo Gutu or at James Smart.
Choose Nguvu for undoubted strength. Birds of you from the
Let's now take you to a bizarre murder story in the North Rift, and the upper and lower limbs of a 23-year-old woman whose badly mutilated torso was retrieved from a quarry 2 weeks ago has been recovered from a pit latrine at Baringo Estate in Uasin Gishu County.
Well, the body was retrieved after the deceased husband confessed to having dumped body parts in the latrine.
Marcy Kandie with that story from Eldoret.
This pit latrine at Baringo Estate in Eldoret was where the remains of 23-year-old Niva Nanga was after disappearing early this month, and part of her body being recovered at a quarry on the 2nd of July. Today's discovery was the culmination of an act believed to have been committed by the deceased husband.
Na ingawaje amepata naye mtoto, sasa wakawaachana, anasema anamfuatanga kila wakati.
It took the Eldoret Fire Department over 4 hours to recover the parts. The victim's limbs were retrieved from the latrine after her husband was arrested and allegedly confessed the murder act to the police before directing them to where he had dumped the body parts. The rescuers managed to spot the body parts, the alleged murder knife, together with clothing that had been used to conceal the limbs.
Kwa naume, tafadhalini, naomba mtu akikuchosha rudisha yeye kwao. Ita jamii, ita kanisa, iwapatie mkae chini muongee.
The victim's mother says she noticed there was something amiss after her daughter stopped communicating.
Kama ndivyo wanaume wabebe mimba. Wabebe mimba, wazae, wasikie uchungu, ndiposa hakika wajue kweli hii ni maumivu.
This a tragic end to a sour on and off relationship the two are said to have had. Marcy Kandie, KTN, Eldoret. Uasin Gishu County.
It doesn't get better. 2 people are nursing serious injuries at the Rift Valley Provincial General Hospital that is in Nakuru after a deranged man alleged to be mentally ill attacked them with an axe. According to the residents of Mahinga village in Subukia district, the madman, Aram Ngige, was walking aimlessly in the village when he entered into Susan Waithera's home, picked an axe and launched an attack on the woman and her son. He said to have slashed the woman's head before injuring her 20-year-old son, Joseph Njuguna. Neighbors who came to the rescue of the victims roughed up the deranged man, threatening to lynch him before he was rescued by local police. According to the area OCPD, Alex Nganga, both the victims are in critical condition. Aram Ngige has also been admitted at the same hospital with minor injuries. Nganga said Aram is currently under police guard and is expected to record a statement after treatment.
He has sustained a deep cut on the occiput and on the lower parts of the leg.
Akachukua shoka, aliokota shoka huko nje. Akagonga katoto akagonga. Sasa venye alikagonga, venye mtoto alipiga nduru, huyu kijana akatoka kwao mbio, akaenda huko kwa huyo babake mdogo, akapata katoto kamegongwa na huyu jamaa mwenye amegonga mtoto ameshika shoka. Si ndio akavamia kijana, akagonga kijana kichwa.
Hiyo mwenda wa simu alikuwa ametoka kwa barabara, akakuja kama amekimbia, akawapiga, akawakata na shoka, lakini shoka alikuwa amechukua hapo nje.
Right now, the Land Development and Governance Institute wants the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and the National Land Commission to fast-track devolution of land management and administration services at county level for efficient service delivery. The institute also says computerization of land records should be given top priority in order to check endemic corruption in land transactions. And as Patrick Amimo reports, many Kenyans visiting the Lands Office have accused the ministry of failing to honor its service charter that advocates for quick and efficient service delivery.
3 years on, John Waweru has religiously visited the Ministry of Lands head office at Ardhi House to chase his trust deed and certificate of incorporation. He applied for the documents in 2010, but says officers at the ministry tell him the files cannot be traced. Waweru wants to invest in production of energy using waste deposits, but he is frustrated at the pace things are moving at Ardhi House.
I have many people following me, investors from Europe, from America. They wanted to to partner with me. But there you are.
Waweru wonders why the Ministry of Lands has failed to operationalize its service charter that promises quick and efficient service delivery for clients.
I applied for certificate of incorporation, but they seems not to be ready. They keep on trying to tell me that you go to this office, you go to this office.
The Land Development Governance Institute says surveys to gauge public satisfaction in the services provided in lands offices at national and county level show Kenyans are dissatisfied. The frequent complaint at Ardhi House is that services have deteriorated and hope for quick establishment of a modern land information management system.
It is a major gain if you have information in computer form because one, you can avoid duplications in terms of looking for files, you cut down on time, you can make it real-time and accessible to various people.
The institute says that most customers complain that brokers have camped in most land registries.
If you go directly, they don't earn. The officers in the offices don't earn because when the money passes through a broker, then the broker shares the money with the officers.
The institute says that poor Kenyans who cannot pay bribes are ignored and left frustrated. Many people also complain that such fees, boundary dispute resolution fees and stamp duty fees are high and want them reduced. The institute urged the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and the National Land Commission to fast-track devolution of services to counties.
They go to the registries and they are told that is county job. They go to the survey offices and they are told go to the commission. They go to the commission, they are told that is a matter of the Director of Planning.
The Institute for Land and Governance says the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission should carry out sporadic inspections at lands offices. It also suggests long-serving senior officers should be regularly transferred to avoid collusion with brokers and land cartels. Patrick Amimo, KTN Prime.
All right, just before we take a short break, let's look at our big question tonight. Right, so we focused on a story coming from Mombasa. I understand the area is in Mishomoroni, where there's a man who helped chase bees from a woman's premise. He got sick yesterday. Today we understand he is dead. And we're asking you, do you believe the Mombasa bee saga is an act of witchcraft?
Indeed, I'm asking you to send us yes or no responses with brief comments to the number 8040, or you can tweet us at KTN Kenya or at Linda Ogutu or at James Met, and we'll sample your views during this live newscast and give you that poll results at the end of this bulletin.
Choose Nguvu for undoubted strength.
Ahead on KTN Business Today, President Uhuru Kenyatta orders an audit on all parastatals and also to calm local financial institutions on the spot for putting a hurdle on homeowners. Join me, Joy Doreen Bira, on this edition of KTN Business Today.
We merely acted in compliance with the High Court order in that petition. The upshot of my ruling is that the complaint is hereby dismissed with no order as to cost.
All right, welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime. Now, members of Parliament today voted to shorten the publication period of 2 National Police Service bills from 14 to 7 days to first track their implementation.
The bills will thereafter be submitted to the Committee on Administration and National Security to allow for the thorough perusal of the laws.
Well, the executive has in the recent past been accused of seeking to wrestle powers from the Kavuludi-led National Police Service Commission and transfer them to Inspector General of Police David Kimayo.
Claims they have vehemently denied.
If this House agrees to shorten the publication period of these 2 bills, this Parliamentary Committee on Administration and National Security will have time to look at these bills, will invite stakeholders, will go around the country, will do the public participation, and will prepare a comprehensive report and table it before this House.
So I just want to confirm to my members that we've consulted and that it will do no harm if we take this direction.
All right, it is that time on a Tuesday night when we bring you How Things Work.
Tonight, it's all about something that is so close to home for those of us in the media.
Tonight, Betty Kello reveals what goes on behind the scenes to bring you the news every single day.
Well, this is one all about adrenaline. Betty Kello is up next with this week's How Things Work.
They are known as members of the Fourth Estate, working long and odd hours to bring you the news.
Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of KTN News.
Nothing is left to chance.
Stand by, your mic is on.
Facts are our core business. This team of dedicated scribes cover the news and the newsmakers every day. This is no ordinary job.
The time that I had to pose as a gun dealer.
When it's around, maybe from around 4 p.m., that's the time even I don't want a phone call from my wife or my kid because I'm under pressure and the 40 million Kenyans are viewing this story.
Tonight, we take you behind the scenes of the KTN newsroom, one of the busiest newsrooms in East and Central Africa, on How Things Work. If you thought the political season was over, well, before this, there is a world of teamwork, effort, and hours put into bringing you that story that affects many lives around the country, across the world. It all starts here. This is the newsroom. Here you find news editors, video editors, reporters, anchors, camera journalists, computers, and more computers. A day in the newsroom begins early morning. Editors, who are basically the people who plan the stories that will be executed on a particular day, hold an editorial meeting. Here they brainstorm and share ideas on different angles of the stories that will be part of the news bulletins.
the reporters come, you tell the reporter, like, Betty, okay, today you're following this story, it's happening at this time. Make sure you get these news sources or that news sources or these particular supporting documents for the story. Then you send out the reporters. When they're out gathering the stories, the news editor keeps in touch with them to know the updates of the stories as the reporters are out there, because you don't have to wait for them to come back and tell you what has happened. When they get back to the newsroom, you as the news editor will have planned exactly what is going on air at 1 p.m., what's going on air at 4 p.m., what's going on air at 7 p.m., what's going on air at 9 p.m.
In the field, always you have your angle of the story, how you want to pursue it. So, and you always want to have the best. You really don't want to have the angle that your competition is having. So you always have to move at a notch higher. You want to ask a question that will make news.
News is gathered through different avenues. It can be through a rally, a press conference, an exclusive interview, or sometimes breaking news, which is basically news that was not anticipated or planned for. From the field, it's back to the newsroom. Here, the reporters are advised on how to angle their stories, after which they begin their scripting. This is at the heart of storytelling. Around this time, tension is building, a race against time. Every minute counts.
So at that time, the newsroom is very, very tense, especially just before 1 o'clock news, just before 4 o'clock or 7 p.m. You know, that hour or so before the newsroom is a very, very crazy place. And that's when people are most aggressive. That's when somebody is likely not to greet you back if you say hello, because they have their own problems. The editor of the day, I'm breathing down the reporter's neck. The news director is breathing down the reporter's neck, wants everything from the reporter. The video edit suits are very busy. People are competing for space to edit their stories fast and quickly. And also time is running out on you.
The script thereafter passes through a line of editors who verify information and add their input to ensure the script is of high quality, factual, and does not feature any defamatory statements.
So it's about getting the right pictures, the right up sounds that tell the story best. And getting time in a suit, so you have to get time to capture all that, to edit it, all in time, because you're not the only story in the suit. There are like 8-10 other stories. There's several other reporters, so...
This is what an edit suite looks like. No room for time wasting.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
The video editors work together with the reporter to put together the picture and audio in a sequence to relay the intended information that in the end becomes the story you see on TV. It's not always easy and smooth.
Take. They say that I've take.
There really is a lot that goes into doing a piece like How Things Work or any other piece that we do on KTN. For instance, a story like this will take you an average of 3 days to shoot, probably 2 cards to fill, which is about 264 minutes worth of footage that you have to go through to package a 5 to 8 minute story.
After the story is edited, it is downloaded onto a tape or sent to a server, which the news directors can access from the studio gallery. Then it is ready to be aired. And that is what goes on behind the scenes to bring you the news. Next week on How Things Work.
Okay, director, we are ready. Coming to you in 1.5 minutes time. Are you ready? Are you set?
We showcase what goes on behind the scenes when it comes to news presentation.
I don't think there's any production that goes on air without the goofs. If people were able to see what happens behind the scenes, you'd be surprised. Understanding the stories, that's the most important thing, because you're communicating. It's a camera, yes, but there's millions of people behind that camera.
Betty Callow, How Things Work.
A very nice piece there by Betty Challo on how things work. At least you have an idea of how we get here and how you get to see what you see on air.
Right. So next week it continues.
Yes.
That's the best part. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back with more. Don't go too far.
That is actually nice.
Thank you for keeping it KTN. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Time for business. President Kenyatta has named a 10-member task force to rationalize the management of parastatals and align them to the new constitution and the counties. The members of the task force represent both government and the private sector. And the task force secretariat will comprise members of the State Corporations Advisory Committee and as well as economic and political advisors in the office of the President, and the Inspector General of Corporations will be ex-official members. The team will review the institutional arrangement for the parastatals, taking into account the new constitution, particularly devolution and the role of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. And looking at more business, the Communications Commission of Kenya today launched the National Broadband Strategy that will see the country deliver at least 5 megabytes per second to increase the pace of productivity across the country. Here's the report. As Kenya works towards achieving a knowledge-based economy, challenges in coordination of complementary infrastructure to extend broadband to all still remains an issue.
As spelled out in the National Broadband Strategy, it is our aim to increase the ICT budget allocation from 0.5% of the total budget to at least 5% in the coming years.
The launch of the National Broadband Strategy will see Kenya work towards expanding the current 30-kilometer fiber optic network to avail content and capacity needed to increase efficiency in delivery of government services.
We hope that we'll deepen digital literacy, first of all in the public sector, I must say, and then secondly, we'll build credible and useful synergies with our partners so that we can move this forward.
Kenya, that enjoys second place after South Africa among African countries with developed ICT, only has 7% of its rural population accessing internet. According to World Bank, for every 10% broadband, a country's economy grows by 2.5% of its gross domestic product, and it is this fact that the country envisages as it rolls out the strategy.
The number of internet users in Kenya is now about 16.2 million, with the international bandwidth being just slightly 900,000 megabits per second.
Kenya is currently using only a third of its broadband, with investors in ICT seeking rationalization of investments, elimination of waylaves, and subsidization of ICT-based devices to increase access to internet. And local banks have been put on the spot for creating hurdles to home ownership. According to a Has Consult second quarter property report on developments in the real estate sector in Kenya, local banks charge as much as 10.5% more than what foreign multinational banks charge for mortgage facilities. Philip Keitani has more on this report.
The dream for most Kenyans to own a house has just remained that. This has been occasioned by, among other costs, related to purchase of land, which has continued to skyrocket. A growing middle class that offers a large market as well as gruesome process of obtaining legal documents for land ownership. But now local banks are also being mentioned as part of the hurdle.
Some of the biggest reasons that developments can't sell at a lower price, even if they wanted to meet market rate, they can't, is because of the land prices.
The current cost of loans represent a 10% spread over the central bank rate of 8.5%. Banks with low rates, however, have pegged them on other products, as in the case of the Standard Chartered Bank. While these rates appear punitive, Has Consult notes that the real estate sector still provide impressive returns than the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Developers, they're moving away from financing their projects. They're moving back into the model where buyers fund construction.
The firm in this survey also pointed out the Treasury's suggestion for the reintroduction of capital gains tax is sending jitters in the real estate business. Further, it adds that the fuel impact on value-added tax on rental income continue to affect the property prices. Philip Keitani, KTN Business Today.
And well, it's time for us now to take a look at how the money market is doing. Let you know how the Kenya shilling performed today and the listed companies at the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
I am Nicholas Mudimba and welcome to KTN Sports Today. National 10,000 meters champion Beren Karoki Former national cross-country and Africa 10,000-meter champion Kenneth Kiprop Kipkemoi carried Kenya's hope of breaking the 10,000-meter jinx at the World Championships. Victor Gale followed the trio's training session early Tuesday at the Kasarani Stadium and filed the following report.
Japan-based Charles Kamadi Waweru was the last Kenyan to have won gold in 10,000 meters at the World Championships. That was 12 years ago in Edmonton, Canada. But before Kamadi, there was Paul Kipkoech, who won in 1987 in Rome, Italy, with Moses Tanui bagging it in 1991 in Tokyo, Japan. The Kenyan trio of national 10,000 meters champion Bidan Karoki, former national cross-country champion Paul Tanui, and Africa 10,000 meters champion Kenneth Kiprop Kipkemoi feel they are the answer to Kenya's medal drought over the distance.
Bado tuko na kasi ngumu. Juu najua kuna hawa Ethiopians kina mfano wako. Na najua tukifanya mazoezi mzuri pia sisi tunaweza fanya kazi poa.
Naamini ya kwamba kila jambo linakuja kwa wakati wake. Na tunapoendelea na mazoezi tunaomba tena ya kwamba kama Mungu angeweza kutusaidia iwe ni siku yetu, itakuwa ni furaha kuu kwetu.
Of the 13 World Championship editions, Kenya has only managed 3 gold medals compared to their perennial rivals Ethiopia, who have bagged 9 medals, while Italy have 1 medal, which it won in the inaugural event in Helsinki in 1983. To outweigh the Ethiopian competition, the Kenyan trio is working on a teamwork formula, as was evident during Tuesday's training session.
We have been losing in that area for a long time. Even London, you see what happened. Karogi was first number 5. So we are trying to see whether we are going to get some there.
Tunataka kufanya teamwork, tufanye mazoezi program moja, ili tuone kama tunaweza rekebisha makosa yenye kwa tunafanya.
Ethiopia's Haile Gebrselassie has won gold 8 times and will be impressed more if Daegu 2011 winner Ibrahim Jailan will fit in his shoes in Moscow.
Lakini hiyo haitustui. Najua hata sisi tunaweza kimbia kama yeye.
Moses Ndiye Mamasa is the last athlete to have a podium finish after he won bronze in 2009 in Berlin, Germany. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.
Thika United are on the verge of clinching the maiden top 8 league trophy. However, the Thika-based side have to navigate through Kenya Premier League defending champions Tusker, who seems to be struggling at the moment. John Kamau does not want to take his charges through penalty shootouts in the finals of the top 8 against Tusker tomorrow.
Thika United's rise to the top has been mercurial of sorts. They have managed to stay at the league summit for a long time, and while they were dislodged recently by Gor Mahia, they are not under pressure at all. Despite finishing in the top 8 bracket for a while with their tiki-taka kind of football, they have nothing to show for it. And they have an opportunity to put that record behind them tomorrow against Tusker.
It has been a very rough journey. That is playing against Sofapaka the first game. I mean, that was, I think that was the game of the top 8. That was the game of the top 8. I don't expect to get another rough game like that one because it was a real test.
And while Thika United at second in the league log, Kenya Premier League defending champions Tusker are not anywhere close to the last season's best. Robert Matano's Chargers are a distant 9th in the log with a chance of defending the title getting more remote. However, they could turn to the top 8 final tomorrow for inspiration. John Kamau knows that Tusker are vulnerable and wants to turn the screws early.
The top 8 also, we wouldn't like to get to the penalties situation. So I would like the game to end within the 90 minutes. So that is basically what I'm focusing on. So, and basically that is my main purpose, or rather the purpose of the training that I'm working on.
The last time the two sides met, Francis Carter's brace sank the Brewers. And Kamau will rely on his youngsters against the battle-hardened Tusker on Wednesday. For KTN Sports Today, I'm Hassan Juma.
And everyone who is involved in the 79-0, 67-0 scoreline in Nigeria has been given a life ban from football. I'm Nicholas Munim. Have yourself a good night.
It's the big question tonight is about a story that we followed up for the last 3 days in Mombasa, Mishoroni, and a gentleman by the name Eric Mbaru is tonight dead after helping in extinguishing bees in a certain restaurant. Tonight we asked you if you believe the Mombasa bee saga is an act of witchcraft, and here's your response.
There you go. 73% of you say yes. 27% of you say no. Elijah Kiama Jr. says, you said Mombasa. Tuliaona ya paka mtungi. Sasa haya nyuki tutakosa kuyaamini kweli. All right, let me see. Isaac says, I'm tempted to say yes.
Undoubted strength.
Because I understand that they don't sting. So definitely there is some force behind it.
Choose Nguvu for undoubted strength.
All right, you have been watching KTN Prime. Thank you so much for your company. Sleep well. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Linda Ogutu.
And I'm James Smart. Do have a lovely night and do enjoy the rest of your viewing.